At 1:45 in the morning, a sudden scream echoes from a quiet, rain-slicked alley. Minutes later, the neighborhood returns to total silence. The following morning, RF enters his father's home to find the front door standing wide open. On the drawing room floor lies Abdul Qadir, a retired schoolteacher, dead. The scene initially points to a robbery gone wrong. Every almirah and cabinet in the room has been pulled open and ransacked, leaving the house in a state of chaotic disarray. Yet, as investigators begin their inventory, the logic of the crime falls apart. Bundles of cash, gold jewelry, and even high-end electronics remain exactly where Qadir left them. The mess was a performance. Every overturned drawer and scattered paper served as a layer of physical clutter designed to lead the investigation toward a motive that didn't actually exist. The killer worked with surgical precision. Forensic teams swept every surface of the room and found no fingerprints. Not a single smudge was left behind on the handles or the furniture. Outside, the trail was just as cold. Neighbors recalled a black motorcycle idling near the house the night before, but the rider had ensured the license plate was completely unreadable. By meticulously cleaning the scene and masking their arrival, the killer created an informational vacuum. To find the truth, the detectives had to stop looking at the chaos and start looking for the one thing the killer forgot to hide. Solving the case required a change in perspective. The team stopped cataloging what had been moved and began looking for the one object that shouldn't have been in the room at all. They found it on a side table, a single black chess king, standing perfectly upright next to the jagged shards of a broken teacup. Qadir's family noted he never played at home, but he was a fixture at the local park, where he spent every afternoon sitting across a chessboard. Isolating this single anomaly changed the entire profile of the suspect. This wasn't the work of a professional thief, but someone intimately familiar with Qadir's specific daily habits. At the park, the pieces began to fit together. Other regulars described a silent stranger who had been playing Qadir for weeks, a man whose composure would vanish into flashes of rage whenever he lost a game. Park CCTV footage gave the detectives a face. The man was Sohel, an ex-convict who had recently finished a sentence for financial fraud. The connection was a trial from years earlier. Abdul Qadir had been the key witness, whose testimony put Sohel behind bars. Those afternoon chess games were a methodical escalation of stalking. Sohel had been using the park to study his target, nursing a grudge that had been festering since the day he was sentenced. Cell records placed Sohel's phone in the neighborhood on the night of the murder, but a general tower ping isn't enough for a conviction. It shows he was in the area, not inside the house. So detectives returned to the broken teacup. Under a microscope, technicians found a minute trace of skin cells on the handle. The DNA extracted from that sample was an identical match to Sohel. The biological evidence now locked the psychological motive into place. The DNA on the cup proved Sohel was sitting in that room, and the trial records proved why he was there. In interrogation, Sohel remained defiant. He knew he had wiped the room for prints and staged the robbery, and he bet on the detectives being unable to prove he ever stepped through the door. The detectives didn't lead with the DNA report. Instead, they placed the black chess king on the table in front of him. When they informed him his DNA was on the teacup, the weight of the evidence became undeniable. Sohel admitted that the plan had spiraled into a rage-filled argument over tea. In his rush to clean the scene of prints, he had completely overlooked the game piece he brought with him. His confession highlights a recurring reality in criminal investigation. The perfect crime often fails because it cannot account for human volatility. Anger leaves a trail that even the most meticulous plan cannot cover. Qadir's house has stood empty ever since, a quiet landmark at the end of the alley. On rainy nights, locals claim to see a figure by the window, head bowed as if studying a move on a board. It's a haunting image, but the lesson of the case is grounded in fact. No amount of staged noise can permanently hide the truth, because our actions always leave a signal behind, waiting to be found in the dark.